On this episode of China Uncensored, China's labor camp mystery. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone gets their moment in the sun, even former inmates of China's expansive labor camp system, after all that time not getting to see sunlight. After being thrown into labor camps for committing such heinous crimes against the party, like arguing over pay and trying to prosecute sons of officials who blind you when you try to stop them from raping a girl, these dangerous elements of society are back out on the streets and giving interviews. At least I think they are. It's a little hard to see sometimes. The Telegraph's Malcolm Moore and Alan Wu interviewed several of these former labor camp inmates, and all they could do was complain. Did they learn nothing from re-education through labor? What is it that they teach you in re-education through labor again? Actually, maybe American students should give it a try. Can't be much worse than the torture of student loan debt. Okay, never mind. But the one thing that does seem clear is that people are indeed being released, and 4 of the biggest labor camps in Beijing have apparently been shut down. Wow, it's weird to think that there were so many right there in the capital. Many human rights watchdogs have been concerned that people in labor camps would just be transferred to other off-the-radar detention centers like black jails or drug rehab facilities. But transfer? That's so much work. Why not just repurpose the camps into drug rehab facilities or brainwashing centers? You'll save on all the moving costs. This could be why when my colleague asked Malcolm Moore a very interesting question, namely if when doing these interviews they came across former labor camp inmates who happened to practice Falun Gong. And he said, "No, I don't know what has happened to them." And that's kind of unsettling, because according to Human Rights Watch, in 2013, there were 160,000 people in labor camps, though at one point that number was as high as 250,000, and half of them were Falun Gong practitioners. So if labor camps are supposedly closing and all these people are coming out, where did all the Falun Gong practitioners go? Well, Amnesty International says they have an answer. While the inmates Malcolm Moore was able to speak to said they were never bothered by authorities again following their release, basically, as soon as the Falun Gong practitioners made it to the gates of the labor camp, other authorities were there to immediately take them to drug rehab centers or just jail. Now, as I've said, Xi Jinping's move to end the labor camp system was mainly about undermining the power base of his political rival Zhou Yongkang, the man responsible for greatly expanding its use. But closing down labor camps is very different from ending arbitrary detention altogether. Aside from Falun Gong practitioners and petitioners, labor camps were mostly filled with drug users, prostitutes, and violent inmates. Now, all those people, you can let them back on the streets, but not the Falun Gong practitioners. That's going to take China's leadership officially changing its policy toward the persecuted group. And that's not going to be so easy to do because a lot of people still have a lot invested in keeping the persecution going. There are government bodies with very large budgets dedicated to just that. But with these former labor camp inmates giving interviews, just like last April's expose in Lens magazine exposing the crimes happening inside the Masanjia labor camp, I think Xi Jinping wants it to happen. The worse they make the labor camps sound, the more he can use that in corruption allegations against Zhou Yongkang and whip up popular support for it. And as long as Falun Gong is kept off the table, the hardliners in the party won't go out of their way to protect a sitting duck. But so what should the media do when an oppressed minority starts disappearing? Well, if there's anything I've learned from history, it's not to ask any questions. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.